There are two things certain in life. The first is death. The second is change. You thought I was going to say taxes. There ain't no taxes in this format. Let's go. If you like what we do here, be sure to like and subscribe. Even support us on Patreon. Now let's go. Okay, so this video is not about death. I'll leave that conversation to be between you and your loved ones. Whatever you guys decide how to handle that topic, that's on you. What I am going to talk about is change. Everything changes at some point in time. We've experienced a number of changes over the last couple of years inside the competitive meta. This is no different. This just happens to be on the opposite side of growth. And what I mean by that is that for quarter one of 2025, we recorded 127 games during that quarter. Online events, in-person events, various leagues around the country. We captured all of that for that quarter, which is pretty stable in numbers for what we've been experiencing in previous quarters, at least for a few previous quarters. Now, for this quarter, quarter two of 2025, we have a record number 63 games recorded. Now, if you're asking why that is, allow me to address the elephant in the room. The first elephant is that we actually caught a cheater cheating in Sanctuary 9, which allowed for the results to not be reliable because we couldn't really pick out but just a few games where this person was playing. So it made that data for that tournament invalid. It's not even listed on .guide in the background data at all. So it's kind of sad because that was the first tournament that Dax was hosting as the new owner of the Sanctuary Open Series IP. And yeah, it's just really unfortunate. The second elephant, a little bit more controversial. So over the last few years, we had a notable player who I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to give air and light to that person. He was essentially banned from various components of the community because he was a bad actor, making comments of, this, that, and the other, his perspectives on X, Y, and Z. So because of those comments and perspectives and history of bad behavior, he was unilaterally banned from most of the online spaces. Now, what happened there is a lot of folks who hang in his circles have decided not to participate in online tournaments or anything like that of that nature. So you've got a little bit of a vacuum there. So that's elephant number two. Now, I know I ended that last segment by priming that there would be an elephant number three. There's no elephant number three. That's basically the two main reasons why the current quarter has been impacted. Now, the person not playing from Sanctuary 9 who was banned, that's one person. But the other person who was banned from various components of the community, they've got a group of people who... Now, it's their choice. They absolutely can go play where they want to play and what have you, but there has been a notable loss of attendance. Now, that said, the quality of games is still high. The perspectives and the way people are treating each other is at an all-time high in the online communities. So there's a plus to that. So yeah, we're just in the process of rebuilding. It's just going to be a little bit before that happens because the new cadence of tournaments is going to be a little bit different than the old cadence, which is not necessarily an elephant, but it is a contributing factor. Let me talk a little bit more about that. Where the online tournaments are concerned, both Chris One More Game and now Dax running Sanctuary, so they both have experienced changes in their life. Chris getting more responsibility and getting more busy with projects outside of the online meta and what have you. He's toned down the cadence, or announced that he's toning down the cadence of Common Cause that are, tournaments that are happening over the course of the year. He's a person. He does people things outside of Magic. Completely understandable. Dax, on the other hand, maybe arguably a person, has just started hosting these tournaments, and he's in the process of ramping up and getting accustomed to offering that particular service. In addition, he's got a very full life with his with his work and his kids' hobbies and things of that nature. So they've toned down the number of offerings or the frequency of offerings that they're going to be presenting, to the folks on the online meta. And that's no shade on them. They got to do what they got to do. But just as a byproduct of that, we've got a little bit less data. So what does that mean exactly? Well, in an effort to kind of match what they're doing in support of what they're doing, well, honestly, what that would do is over the course of the following quarters, we'd have low data for those quarters. So it makes sense, it makes sense to move from a quarterly update to a semi-annual update where we're doing it twice a year. So you'll get it now, July, the middle of 2025, and then you'll get it again at the end of 2025, and then again, July next year, and so on and so on. You get it. So what does that mean for me? I have like extra free time and what have you. Well, does that mean you're going to do tier lists? You're not going to do tier lists, right? Nah. Not completely, not in the way that everybody else does tier list. I'm not expecting you to agree with me, and that's fine. Tier lists are for people who like to have a laugh and all that stuff. But honestly, the reality is tier lists aren't really meant to be taken seriously. They're entertainment value. So what kind of gets me is like, if I did a tier list, I'd be forced to kind of do it seriously because I'm like the data guy. And now we're going to have to do data plus tier lists, and it's not as entertaining. I can get a couple of buddies on here. We can have adult beverages and all that stuff, and we could make something that means nothing to, everyone, and it'll be entertaining. But like quite literally me saying that this deck is better than the other deck, like I know fuck all. Like, don't trust anybody on the internet, especially people with cameras and microphones. Like don't do that. So anyway, now that I've covered those bases, what have you, I put together a little chart. It's actually the kind of top performing commanders and players of the quarter. I did that last quarter. I think I did it the quarter before then. I'm doing it again this quarter. Transparency. I just want you to see what's out there, what people are doing, and hopefully that'll inspire you to do something new based off of, what these folks are doing. All right. Let's get after it. All right. So what you see in front of you, you should not be a stranger to. It's the little chart that I usually provide alongside Bodarn's report for the last couple of quarterly reports. Bodarn and I had a conversation and decided not to generate one of those .guide textual reports for this quarter because the number of 63 games does not provide for an adequate. You can conduct statistical analysis on that number of games. However, it wouldn't be as consistent or persistent as the 127 or more games that we've had previously. So that said, instead of adding this particular file as an addendum, then we're going to feature it here specifically because I want to highlight what some things in some people in the community are doing. So you can't see my mouse, but you can see that I'm interacting with the graphs on the screen, the charts on the screen. There are 51 distinct commanders for this quarter, and there are 30 distinct players for this quarter. So of note, you'll notice that my dear friend Ginger is piloting his Furnace Hellkite. So top position in both places, and then followed by Gretchen Titchwillow. Thank God Puzzlebox is also playing in that in-person league. Oh, and I guess I should specify this data set captures an in-person league being hosted by Ginger in Iowa, and this is the 2025 year-long, the infamous year-long league happening down there in person. And then it also featured an in-person event called Cloudy Commons 1, hosted by Magus the Jank in St. Cloud area. So Minnesota, well, not Minnesota, but St. Cloud. Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah. Forgetting my geography for a second. So most of the data here will be representative of that in-person league. So I wanted to highlight this for you. It's a shame that the pop-ups that I'm hovering over aren't showing up. But what I'll do is I'll highlight Malcolm. This Malcolm list is Malcolm Rograk, son of Rogra. So this right here is the one deck that made it into the top 10 that was from the Cloudy Commons 1 tournament. All the rest of these lists here, not specifically highlighted, grayed out, are part of the in-person league being held down in Iowa. Now, when we go down to the bottom here, I can't see any name. I'm scrolling through. Yep, none of the top 10 players are from that particular Cloudy Commons 1 tournament that we had in St. Cloud. All of these players are playing, to include our friend Puzzlebox, are in that in-person Iowa League. And you can see my mouse now. This is wonderful. So as we scroll through, I think the top player, Tony Baloney, is the top player being presented in that Cloudy Commons set. He actually won the dang thing. And we're starting to see a bunch of people bunched up here. Kat Vetch, me, her dad, Dan Vetch, Tony El Nino, Normingway, all of these folks were in the Cloudy Commons. So could that be by virtue of representative sample? Sure. You're getting some nulls here because there's not enough data comparatively in overlap. Also, this is a great time to express that this is the first time out of the last year or so that I've been compiling these top performing players, top performing commanders, that we've actually had null values. And that's usually because we have enough crossover between players playing in online and on person that you have a strength of schedule that's based off of their crossover between the two. So if you see null values in here, because we have the low numbers, now you can understand why Bodarn and I didn't necessarily want to do too much in-depth analysis on this, is because the lack of crossover players between in-person events. So between St. Cloud and Iowa, there aren't people traveling between the two. You're not going to have a strength of schedule calculated for them. Plus, I mean, it's a low amount of data. It was, I think, 14 players, 3 rounds Swiss, and then cut to top 4. So we just don't have the numbers there to even generate. So, yeah, of note in these top performing commanders. So Gretchen be Gretchen, doing Gretchen things. Puzzle's tearing it up down there with a raw win rate of 67%. Well, you have a top tier player with a top tier commander, and this is how that's going to look. Now, conversely, Furnace Hellkite is not previously known to be a air quotes top tier commander. However, you have Ginger, who is piloting this Furnace Hellkite list with a 70% win rate, which is comparable to what Gretchen is doing here. So isn't that funny how a control style combo deck and a Voltron burn deck have comparable win rates? 0.67 and 0.7 are close enough to we can say comparable. Are comparable enough given the archetypes being so different with highly skilled players. Surprise, surprise. So that's an artifact of this data that I wanted to kind of point out in the fact that, I mean, good players are good decks are good. You put those two together. Now, I don't know enough about this 10th District Legionnaire or Jasmine Boreal of the Seven list to be able to provide you any definitive answers to that. I'm quite sure I'm going to ping Ginger to let him know that I'm mentioned him so much in this this video. Hopefully he'll be hovering in the comments to be able to get those deck lists to you if they exist. One problem that we may experience is that because these are in person and the artifact of a league, usually those deck lists aren't submitted, so there's no guarantee that the player or brewer who's making them actually has a deck list associated with those. We're kind of used to the air quotes quality of standard of practice for online events where since you're playing online, there's this deck validation thing, and the only way to really do that is to cross compare what's submitted digitally plus what's being played in the tournament, whereas you don't have that problem so much with leagues and what have you, because you can just verify what they're playing right there in front of you. Had there be a tournament, and now that I remember correctly, I think Ginger was actually working towards some sort of holistic registering. Right now I think they're just focused on the commander, but I think they were working towards this holistic verification of deck comparison, with the understanding that it would change from week to week anyway, because that's one of the purposes of the league as brewers, is to develop your list. So the list that you submit at the beginning of the season is going to be wholly different by the time you get to the end of the season, and that's somewhat the point. So I don't have much more to say about this. I wanted to make this available to you to know that, yes, we did collect data. Yes, this data is live in .guide right now. You can select between Clouded Commons 1 and the Wanderers cPDH League in the data on cpdh.guide to kind of ferret through this yourself, or you can view this this little streamlined thing that I'm providing you here. All right, let's move on. The major outcome I wanted you to have for this particular video is that not all change is bad. Not all change is bad. Look at it this way. We've been going quarter to quarter, averaging anywhere from 100 and something games to sometimes I think we've had almost 200 games in a particular quarter. Now we'll have double that. So the data will be that much better as far as analyzing an entire group of commanders and players and what have you. Also, we'll have more opportunity for standout commanders and players in that period of time. So does that mean we're going to necessarily double the episode length? Is the next episode going to be like 2 hours? No, I hope not. It's going to be a lot of data, but I think we'll be able to get through it in the same amount of time, because the median good decks are still going to be the same approximate number of median good decks with some highlights that we'll talk about. But the outliers, the ones that are less performant and all that stuff, will easily fall off to the wayside, and they'll just not get talked about as regularly. So I anticipate December's episode being same length. I'll still produce one of these charts for you. It'll be a little bit more comprehensive, I think. Well, all in all, I think it'll be better for the format. Plus, it kind of takes the teeth out of this. I know I joked earlier about doing a tier list and all that stuff, but if no one knows exactly how the meta is doing, and by and large, there's people that are making tier lists now aren't playing either in paper or in online and in the meta. So how the hell do they know? But I don't know. Maybe this reporting will make tier lists more effective. Likely not. It's all subjective bullshit anyway. even though I'll continue to tease you with making some version of them in the future. So yeah, that's what we have for data this quarter. We're in the summer slowdown period as well. So between DAX taking over Sanctuary, summer slowdown, kind of rebuilding and reestablishing the online community, I've been working my butt off with a number of in-person places to get more in-person tournaments started, happening, going, thriving, that sort of deal. So part of my energy has been going to that versus kind of bolstering up this online community. There's other people that are doing that. I don't necessarily, not that I'm not focused on it, but that's somebody else's main priority and aim at the moment. That gives me the ability to kind of work with people on the outside and do in-person stuff. So we're building up to something big. I know it. I can feel it. We've had a significant change in the community. It's all for the better. So this is where we're at. This is what we're doing. I know. Strange, weird. Anyhow, if you have any questions, comments, requests for a tier list, hit me up in the description down below. Not the description. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up in the comments down below. All right, guys. Until the next time, I'll see you on the battlefield.